Hey, Bryce, I believe the council chambers are muted. I'm sorry.
So that's unanimous. And I should, of course, mention that Mary's here, Aaron's here, Jerry's here, and Obi's here, and we have Tony online.
That is better now. Thanks. Yes.
And we will not have, I think, a county commission update unless someone was at the meeting who has some information.
I was at the meeting. It was a long one. Give me a second. I look back in notes. Yes. So you always pull up the minutes for the YouTube video. Yes. Oh yeah, it's very not remembering anything big from it.
That's okay. And since Trish isn't here, we will then change the agenda slightly. If I've got this correctly, we're going to go to hearing from the interview candidates. And I guess the first one up is going to be, I love that, Janine.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is bring everybody up at the same time.
Oh,
I've got
okay.
name tags, so you can identify yourself. So come grab a seat. The microphone is in the middle, so you'll kind of have to lean toward it or slide it over to
Tony,
when
can
it's
you hear
your
Tony,
turn.
can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys fine. Thank you.
Everybody should have the questions in your packet.
Great. I was just checking to see if Tony can hear us online there.
Yes, Obi, I can hear you fine. Thank you. Obi, did you hear me? I can hear you fine.
Try one more time. Tony, can you hear us?
1 second, Obi. What the heck?
right.
So everybody has the questions and answers in your packet. You're welcome to pull that up and follow along. Otherwise, we'll have each candidate take a minute to introduce themselves and then read their answers to number 2, number 7, and number 10. You don't have to read it word for word. You can just address those answers. And then following that, we will excuse you, and then you guys all have a ballot. Want to take a minute and fill that out here and hand it to me before you leave. If you want to take it home and think about it and bring it back to me, any of those are your choice to do. And then we will email you folks as soon as we have gathered all the ballots and added up all the answers on them. Okay. Good. You guys ready?
I think let's try to get Tony in if it's at all possible. At least then we'd have a 5th person voting as well.
Yeah, Jerry, I think I fixed it. Can you hear me now?
Anybody good enough for that machine?
Apparently Hogan.
Might be trying to talk when it highlights like that.
Yeah, I was thinking the same. Can we chat with him?
So he seemed to chat earlier saying that the council chambers were muted. We adjusted that. I turned up the volume. We should be able to hear him. Listen.
I just hate to see him go through the trouble of connecting remote and not being able to participate.
Agreed.
Jerry, can you hear me now? Hey, Jerry, can you hear me now?
And Michelle, I just have a question about procedure, and I'm not very hung up on the exact procedure, but I think the procedures have us after we vote, voting to approve what we are voting for, and then me asking the planning commission staff to send it on to the commission. So I'm wondering if,
If you want to vote out this.
yeah, I think we should
Do
try
that,
to.
or
make-
you want to wait until next meeting to
Yeah.
send that recommendation, we can do that.
Great.
Your choice.
Can you guys hear me?
Tell me when you give up on to.
Hear us just fine. He's having a problem with his mic.
Okay,
So at least he's.
I'll turn it over to Michelle.
Everybody is prepared with your answers and you're ready to move forward. Okay, so slide that mic over to you. Then introduce yourself, and then again, it's 2, 7, and 10.
So introduction and just fire into it.
Yep.
Cool.
Speak right to that.
Hey, I'm AJ Throgmorton. I first started coming out to this area about a decade ago, doing float trips, hiking, enjoying the park. So fell in love with the area. About that long ago, I moved here a year and a half ago, mainly to start up a little canoe outfitting, river outfitting business. We've been running up and down Labyrinth Canyon, Colorado River. So with that, you'll find a trend in my answers is going to be kind of sustainable recreation that's going to shine through. So if I get to sound like a broken record, that's kind of why. It's pretty easy to enjoy all the canyon areas from a canoe without really disrupting much. All right, for question 2, my interest in this and then my strengths for it. So it's kind of like I said, my interest is really in continuing to develop that sustainable recreation. It seems like the area is only going to continue to grow, and with that comes, a lot of challenges, a lot of opportunities, things that I'd like to be involved with, having a say in, being able to help out with. My strengths on it really just comes from my passion. I mean, the reason I started coming out here is because I really liked it, kept coming back. So anyway, if I can help out with that, it's a win-win. My second strength is going to be my professional experience. I've been in healthcare IT for 13, 14 years now. With that, there comes a ton of regulation, a lot of change control management we have to put in place, contracts, policies, kind of a lot of things that I think are really going to come in important serving on the planning commission here. The last strength is kind of just my literacy strength, we just call it. I'm just an avid reader. I like to write, generally communicating. So the 2 strengths combined with that, I think it's a pretty winning combination. Next up, so for the general plan, all 223 pages of it, it's pretty extensive, got a lot of good information in there. I kind of parsed out 3 main areas that asked for areas of improvement, but I also say that I've been really pleasantly pleased with everything I've seen in Grant County. So with that, my initial involvement with the county really came from a public engagement meeting down at City Park. We were looking at land usage, kind of focused more along the Spanish Valley corridor. We actually had a map where we could go around and pin and kind of got to directly influence or contribute to what we thought were good uses for the various plots of land. And it really struck a chord with me that this county cares about what the constituency thinks and want to hear what we have to say. So that was really nice to see. Second point was for affordable housing. I just feel like this is a major issue for the city, the county, everywhere. People love being here, people love coming here, but we've got to be able to do that sustainably, affordably. We've got a ton of tourism to maintain, but those aren't always the highest paying jobs either. So finding a way to get these people who run the city, run the county, affordable places to live should definitely be a top priority. And then broken record time, environmental sustainability. I'll kind of lump this in with question 8. I'm going to dive into that too. But with running this canoe business that I've got, and the recent closures out in Labyrinth Canyon, there could have been some conflict of interest in that. It's primarily where my canoe shuttle runs out there. So the biggest stretch that we do is from Crystal Geyser down to Mineral Bottom. Closing down all those trails was probably kind of helpful for me in the canoe business. Like I said, if people can't enjoy it from an ATV or a Jeep, whatever it might be, well, we can still paddle down the rivers without causing a commotion, and you know, it's an enjoyable, easy way to recreate out there. So that being said, you would think I would be against the Labyrinth closing, but I kind of stayed neutral on it, you know, acknowledging that I kind of might have had some of those biases that I was bringing to the table. Kind of chose to stay out of it, didn't really comment on the BLM open commenting section that they had. So I know that's BLM land. It was kind of something that they were spearheading, but I think anything like that also affects us at the county level too. Lastly, so the area or location or type that I'm most concerned about with development, it's going to go back to that sustainability. Really, I think sustainability is the big one just because it's overarching. If you're thinking sustainably, you can apply that to any other area within the plan. I mean, as we're growing due to tourism, growing due to local population influx, industry, whatever it might be, keeping that kind of a sustainable mind frame at the forefronts of our mind is going to be really important.
Move on to the next, I guess, the center.
Hi, my name is Janine Isaiah, and I have been here since about 1996. Can you hold that microphone? I moved here in about 1996, 1997 as a rock climber, and started a business here in 2000 and have been here since. I started pagan mountaineering with a partner and had a business here for 10 years. Bought my first house after living in a vehicle like most people here for a number of years in 2004. And yeah, it's an honor. I never thought I could afford to be here, and I'm grateful that I got in when I did. I'm blind and I did not print mine, so I'm going to read off of my phone. Sorry. Oh, that was kind of cute. Yes. The reason that I would like to be here is I am 54 and I've done lots of volunteer work. I've worked as a wildlife biologist the first part of my life and did cleaning oil seabirds, wildlife rehab, conservation biology, banding spotted owls. Did that for a number of years. Worked for hospice for a little while. I've done a day or here and there with different organizations in town, and I just would really like to sink my teeth into something a little bit more than occasional volunteer work. I feel like it's time for me to give back to the community, and I thought this would be a great place. I don't have any experience with planning or zoning, but I'm confident that this is where I belong, or one of the places I could certainly contribute. One of my skills would be that I'm a good listener. I spend a lot of time gathering facts as a scientist, so I spend a great deal of time researching before I make a decision. I question everything. Lastly, I'm a problem solver. I like to look beyond complaints and dive into complex issues to work towards solutions. I can tell one of my weaknesses is definitely public speaking. I'm sweating. I've spent the last 8 years on a sailboat with my husband. I had a little midlife crisis. And so I left and went into the Pacific Ocean with him on a 32-foot boat, which was nothing but the ocean did nothing but want to sink us. And then I traveled across Micronesia and into Indonesia, into a variety of countries, and there, because the boat always breaks and you're always fixing it and living within the other communities, which I'm sure you all have, I just found myself not working but wanting to be invested in participating in the communities. And then after 8 years and made it across the Indian and the Atlantic up to the Caribbean, and couldn't wait to hightail it home to Grant County. I felt like this is where I should be putting my time and my efforts to wherever or whomever would like my time. In terms of land use regulations, is that the next question, number 7?
2, 7, and 10.
So, do you favor regulations that are strict, little to no room for interpretation, or flexible? I think I renumbered my answers, so that's why I'm not answering one yet. Oh, the general plan. Yeah, again, this was not familiar to me. It was the first time reading through it. And I was really impressed. I had read the 2001, and that was more the speed that I remember coming to Moab, is that it's very nuts and bolts. It was, at the time, was probably progressive, but it was nothing like what I've seen in the last 8 years since I've come back. I read about gray water and about wanting to do something about transportation here and alternatives to transportation and traffic. And I find all this very intriguing, and was excited that that was a bigger part of the plan. I feel like it's pretty broad. There's a lot of, you all have a lot of work to do in a lot of areas. Yeah, I enjoyed reading it and see the advancement in the decade that I've been gone. I'm really impressed with the way Moab looks. I was impressed with the new plan for the Atlas Tail Pile, and yeah, I would like to be part of all that. I really enjoyed reading it, and there was many times writing notes about the creative ways that I would like to be part of and part of the change. And I have to score myself. I know that's not right either.
Yours has a little square over there.
Yeah, I had myself scoring 1 through 5.
In the process of developing new land use regulations, rate the following
Oh.
order of importance.
Yeah, that one I had. Okay. Okay, so the first one for me is be respectful to others. I can't imagine answering any other way to this question, considering the climate that we're already in. So that would be the most important thing to me. The second would be listening to and understanding other points of view, which I find really the most, yeah, it's critical. And then 3 is compromising to reach consensus. And 4 is articulating, ensuring others understand your point of view. Thank you very much.
Got it. Yeah, thanks. I'm Laura. Hi. I've been living in Moab since 2020, so around COVID, so not nearly as long as you guys, but I also fell in love with this place, and yeah, I feel some sort of responsibility to take care of it and be engaged. I came into Moab in a van, down by the river, and then I've lived all over Moab since then. So yeah, and then I started working here as a mountain bike guide, a multi-day mountain bike guide, and I've been in and out of Moab a little bit. And every time I'd come back, I'm like, oh, this feels like home. I'm just gonna really want to stay. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. Okay, 7, number 7. So yes, my understanding of the general plan. I found the general plan because of the Cane Creek development. I was curious about how that's possible with, I just wanted to know how that was possible. And so I was looking at the general plan, and I really love the motto, Grand County's adventurous small town spirit. And to me, it felt like we're running into a little bit of a contradiction. So yeah, so according to the plan, the goal is to achieve a sustainable community where development takes place in an orderly, efficient, and logical manner, and shapes the long-term health of the community across all aspects of urban planning. That's from the plan itself. So yeah, my understanding is that it's a guide on how to build while prioritizing the well-being of the community, which is awesome. So yeah, I think it's long, and I think it's vague in some areas. So some areas could be a little bit more specific. So that way, you guys probably don't have to interpret it, so differently. Yeah, I think it could also focus a little bit more on addressing some workforce housing needs as well. Yeah. And then number 10. So I had the same. Being respectful to others is number 1. Listening to and understanding other people's point of view, and then compromising to reach a consensus, and then articulating and ensuring others understand my point of view would be last. So yeah, that's what I got.
All right. So I share Janine's thinking that respect is kind of the main one that's got to be present for all the others. Number 2 for me was listening and understanding others' points of view. 3 for me was articulating and ensuring that others understand my point of view. To me, that just seems kind of like the second part of listening to somebody. Read it back to them and ensures that you're all on the same page. 4th, there's still going to be disagreements, but at the end, you got to compromise and reach that consensus. If you have other candidates, but I think you got a pretty solid batch right here. I don't think you can make a wrong choice.
The chair to decide what to do with that.
Yeah. I actually requested a ballot vote, which is my prerogative. And I think we should just probably vote, and maybe Michelle could count them. And we are only allowed to vote for one person because there's only one space available. Okay, and I should also ask just quickly, does anybody have any questions, any additional questions of folks who are up here?
I want them all.
I agree that after reading them, I've got a little speech I'll make for people who don't actually do it, actually get it. Maybe I'll make it right now. I think all 3 of you are qualified. And there's this wonderful thing. I've been on the Planning Commission long enough that one of the people who now serves on the County Commission, first time up, sitting in that position, didn't get it. Second time up, they did. Our former chair of this commission, first time she was up, she didn't get it. Second time she came, got it. But I think all 3 of you are qualified, and that will, I think, be part of the message I think that should be sent to the County Commission, although we're going to vote and come down with a favorite. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I guess we mark our ballot.
While you do that. It'll just be an awkward silence.
Obi, while you're voting, I'm going to try my microphone one more time and see if it's working now.
We got you, Tony. Yep.
Yeah, I figured it out. Thank you, guys.
And Tony, you were able to hear people?
Yeah, I heard them just fine. Thanks, Obi.
And how have we done this before? Do we send it to, does somebody call?
He's supposed to email it. But
Can you email it, Tony?
Absolutely, I can do that. Yep.
That's great. And if Tony doesn't come through quickly, but has he come through? I meant the message. Not yet. Okay. We need
Yeah,
Any minute now, I just sent it.
we can
Does it require 4 votes or just a majority?
Just requires the majority is my reading on this particular vote.
With
We
3,
might never get 4 votes.
well, with 3 candidates and 5 people,
I
it could
know.
end up with 2 twos.
Yep, in which case we'd be stuck. Fortunately, we have 5 people, so I would probably say that, after checking with you, we should re-vote after getting rid of one of the candidates who had the lowest total. It makes sense.
Well, since the county doesn't, or the planning commission doesn't actually pick it, the county commission does. Like, never.
Yeah, this is a recommendation to them.
We just might recommend.
They've done it before. Questioning our judgment. Okay, let's see. This. I guess that now is the update for the future land use map.
So CCB actually sent us a slide pack that explains where they are, where they're going with this. So I'm going to share that with you guys. And then if you have anything you'd like us to relate to them, we basically are having weekly meetings with them now. So if there's anything that comes up from the slide pack that you're like, whoa, we really want to talk about this, or this isn't quite what we feel we got from their feedback session last time, definitely let us know.
What I've handed you is a list of, they're proposing a survey. And this is a list of questions that they intend to include in that survey.
And Tony, I've got that list of questions, just not quite in multiple choice form at the end of the slide pack. We can send you all of this.
That sounds great. Thanks.
So this is just their general update for July, and this is very, very brief. We asked them for this specific update, and they definitely together this morning. They had a whole bunch of different travel problems with people trying to get back to the same area. Still traveling now and trying to get home. So if you guys see any sort of grammatical errors or anything like that, feel free to point them out. Okay, so going through their timeline, they came in June, visited with all of those small groups. Right now, we are gearing up for basically the online community engagement, which is essentially the questions that you have in front of you. Here is their anticipated return to be able to visit with everybody. We're still trying to narrow in on a particular date that everybody will be able to meet. I think we're aiming toward the 24th of September. We might meet up with yet again small groups, just what they've done and give any additional feedback. The adoption process would start with you guys in October. They did have several takeaways, basically from meeting with everybody, but one of the big ones was basically trying to figure out where they needed to visit in town for the second day after they met with everyone. So they spent quite a bit of time in the 191 corridor, since that was brought up over and over again for multiple zoning as well as development issues. They did do a site tour of the USU campus and the anticipated plans there, as well as what could be done for adjoining properties. And then they focused very heavily on Spanish Trail and Millgate Drive and the South County Line neighborhood, essentially as places of either commercial hub or sort of transition within zoning. They also toured by the SITLA site. They mean the sites that have been earmarked for development in San Juan County, to kind of see how the density would play out there and how that would affect the southern end of the valley as we were working through land use planning. And then they spent quite a bit of time at Arroyo Crossing. takeaways. We've talked about this quite a bit with them, just as staff. One of the biggest questions seems to be around this particular point right here, changes in increasing density in some places, but not necessarily in others. And the fact that they had several stakeholder meetings that didn't necessarily align with the other ones, as we know we have an extremely diverse county, a lot of diverse opinions.
That's probably why we are where we are.
Most likely.
Unsurprising.
Yes, very unsurprisingly. So at this point, their main takeaway was basically, everybody make sure that affordable housing is forefront whenever we have discussions like this. It's something that was hit upon in every small group. Affordable housing is definitely a need, and in order to hopefully drive that, definitely need a solid and definitive future land use map.
I think it would be good to get some definition as to what people think affordable housing actually is.
That was also brought up.
Because, it's Salt Lake and Denver, Phoenix, for example, the big cities, there's nothing affordable there either. If you're looking for a house to buy, you better have $500,000 or more.
Right.
Yeah, so that's not affordable for some of these start towns. Anyway, I think it would be a good idea to define what people mean by affordable, because you can't solve a problem you can't define.
Right. And most people on the development side that I've heard have started using the term free market housing. So basically, whatever the free market is driving for affordability.
Yeah.
So,
And Jerry, of course, they do this kind of thing, the percentage of the, whatever it is the living standard for a family of
Area median
four.
income.
And, but the problem with that, of course, is we can't get housing that's low enough for those people to afford.
That's the definition of a rock and a hard place.
Yes.
And there's a lot of both.
yes. They did also ask us a very interesting question about what we personally saw as being built out in Spanish Valley, which I thought was just an interesting question to pose to anybody. Like, what do we foresee as being the main indicator of when the valley is completely built out? Staff mostly replied, just to do with water.
Well, and there is that terrible thing where they say that build out population is whatever we have zoned now. And then what if it all got filled up and it's some gigantic number that I don't think people want as what it ends up with. So
yeah. So I mean, if it was maximum density, that would be a very large number.
Well, and as far as sewer and water go, there's sewer and water usage today, and there's what it could be too, right? And those are two very different things too.
Right.
Well, build out deals with population.
It does.
Yeah.
And our population in Grant County, and Moab City together, not changed much from the first, when I moved here in 1950. Like 7,000 people here. Now there's 9,000 people here. So who knows? I mean, I remember the first general plan the county put together. We were expecting within 10 years to have 20,000 people living here. We still haven't reached it. It's hard to decide what a build out is.
I have a thought about that, which is that year-round population hasn't increased very much, but build out also has to do with second, third homes and overnight rentals. And I think if you look at that number, it's increased a lot more.
Also, have these numbers count the transient population.
I think it'd be a good discussion to have at some point. That would be for sure.
Was going back to this, basically the next steps, they would like to push out the community survey, which are the questions you have in front of you. I would love you guys' feedback on any of those. Should there be more? Should there be less?
How would you like to get the feedback? Just reply to our meeting invite.
That'd be great.
The reply all would probably be good. Is that okay with you? Okay.
When do you want that by?
Right now, no. So after we hopefully get get responses from community survey, they would essentially be bringing the draft, they get the synthesizes, those responses back to planning commission, county commission, and steering committee in September to help point the process. They would also like to have a public house, an open house, public open house during that time period, where they can show off a lot of the different maps that they've actually been working on and get community feedback and engagement from that level.
So will the survey be like on the county website? Is that what people are going to get it?
We're thinking right now,
That is great.
next, same thing, okay. Okay, and then this is just a slide having showing those questions you guys have in front of you.
Same as here.
Well, I got a couple of things. I mean, I'll go into this more, but you know, I see question 7 on there. Was this in our packet, or did I not see?
No, this
Okay,
barely.
this wasn't
This
okay.
barely came out.
Because I'm like, oh geez, did I miss this? You know, because I'm in this field, services.
Yeah.
For type amenities, there's nothing on that, and I feel like that's a big one I hear from people. And then I wonder on 9 about preserving natural beauty in the environment of our area. I wonder if I almost feel like there's 2 ways that's going. There's the natural beauty, and then there's ruralness on there. And I almost wonder if that was kind of the intention. Like, those are 2 really different questions. And I don't know if people taking this survey would parse that out. You know, I kind of want to feel with people like, how much you willing to sacrifice low density for high density? I mean, that's one of our big questions with affordable housing. And I mean, we're like, how important do you think it is? Oh, everybody thinks it's important. Oh, but like, do you want to see the Buzz Bates Ranch turn into, you know, condos? Oh, no, we don't want to see that, right? So like, I think that's kind of what the survey's trying to get. So I don't know if that last question, you know, that would be my couple of things. I'll think about this.
Even before you spoke, under number 9, I put ag space, just to remind me that these are 2 different things. One's kind of this environmental and view sheds stuff, and a lot of the rural feeling is something for agriculture.
And there's a lot of things that we're not going to touch any BLM land. Like none, like that's set in stone, right? Like the park. So it's like that's preserved, right? So it's kind of like,
Much control that we really have. on
yeah,
this.
yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I set it up. That's why I asked if we could do replies by email, because I think for me, it's going to take more thought behind this to give a decent answer on the survey than we really have, time we really have here.
And
it's lengthy.
yeah, and The other thing I was gonna add on 7, I mean, everybody will have their favorite, but I guess it was last year we had something wrong with our automobile and couldn't get appointments any place for 2 weeks out. And then there was some place you could just line up and they might take you that day. And we ended up getting the automobile fixed. But I mean, there's a lot of services. Another thing is people, at least out in Castle Valley, look for an electrician or look for somebody who's going to build or renovate if you need it. And there just aren't people.
I was also maybe feeling a little bit in line with what Aaron was saying about questions 6 and 9. I think if you ask the average person, you know, it's very important to develop affordable housing, but we don't want to get into how that looks. And it's very important to preserve the natural beauty in the environment, but we, you know, there's duality there. And I think maybe it would be good practice to have a question that maybe addresses in a better words than I have, like, under what conditions would you be willing to forego a housing development in the interest of the preservation of natural resources? Or how much of the county do you think should be put aside for natural places? Because it's a very difficult question, but I think we should ask it point blank. You know, that they're kind of opposing sides when you get down to the nitty gritty of it. And good planning and good design and architecture can avoid a lot of impacts, but I think it would be good for people to be asked to comprehend that duality and really like get that. I think will get us closer to their priorities than just saying, oh, green space good, affordable housing good. Like, yeah, that's the question we've been asking for 20 years. And we, you know, the answers to those two questions haven't changed. Anyway, that's the only thing I thought. Otherwise, though, like, I think these are good. Really getting to the heart of it. I think let's poke them right in the chest.
My only recommendation would be if we're going to modify the number of questions, let's aim for less, not more. People like to answer about 5 questions. So I start seeing 7, 8, 9, and the interest wanes.
A lot of it's personal, philosophical for the most part. How do you answer?
Yes.
It seems like some of these questions might be able to be consolidated. Like you could have a question, please rank on a scale of 1 to 5 the importance of each of these categories. And then you can see a comparison between what people think is important. And, you know, maybe one of those could be preservation of natural space. One of them could be preservation of ag space. One of them could be development of affordable housing.
The other comments, and there's probably no more to this.
There's no more to this.
There's no more other comments. Okay, we're going to move on into a public hearing. And this is on the rezone 570 River Sands Road from rural residential to small lot residential. And Bryce is going to do this.
She's going to talk. It's fine. I am just going to open up the agenda packet for this. So if there's anything you guys would like me to show as I walk through this.
Hey, Bryson, I'm not sure if Tony can hear. You're not speaking right into the mic.
Could you hear me, Tony?
Pretty well. Yeah, it's adequate.
I'll try harder. Okay. All right, so in general, I do like to start pretty much all of these talks and presentations by pulling up a map, just to orient everybody from where we're here talking about. So the application that we are talking about today is rezoning this particular parcel right here at 570 River Sands Road. It is currently zoned rural residential. It is 0.19 acres, which is currently smaller than even our small lot residential size. The intention with this would be to put a single family home on the lot. We actually do have the applicants in the room. If anybody has questions for them. Come up to the microphone.
I'm Vicki Hazlett, spelled N-I-C-K-I, that needs to be official on paperwork, sorry.
I was gonna say. Make a note of that.
And we bought this property a couple years ago, thinking because, and looking at the dimensions of small lot residential, and we purchased a house to put on it already, a double wide modular home to put on it. And when we turned in the building plan for it, they denied it because the setbacks were too big and it was 5 feet too long, because we had no idea because it didn't fit any of the zoning. So we submitted the application last spring, March, to just get it rezoned so that we can put a house in. We have 7 kids and we're trying to get them all to move back. So the more housing we can put in, the faster we can get them out of my house and into their own homes, or get me out of my house, let them have the big house, and then I'll take the small house, whichever comes first.
So looking at the surrounding area, if anybody's curious about that, we do have city property to the north and then to the east as well, and that's all in the R3 zone, which is a multifamily residential zone. And everything else that's in the county is still considered rural residential as well. This is part of the anticipated annexation area, but it is not anticipated to be annexed in a way that the city would come in and try to grab it imminently.
Any questions of the applicant?
I do. Why aren't you annexing into the city? Why didn't you petition?
I went to talk to them and it seemed like a more complicated process than going to the county, and they didn't seem any, I know that Ben Bird is working on a piece, but they didn't seem too excited to do anything to help us, and it seemed like a more complicated process than just rezoning.
But you still process it. You as an applicant can ask for it. And you go in as an R3, which is even smaller setbacks than the
Yeah.
SLR. And you're surrounded by it, and you're gonna get city services, everywhere, everything down there is city services.
Yeah, I mean, the lot already had city services on it, so it already had that. But again, I would have gone that route, but I went this way thinking that this would be faster, but it ended up not being faster. And then we got,
Generally isn't.
then we got busy. It seemed just less, and then the summer got busy, and so now we are. But I did talk to them, and it seemed, again, like more complicated, and it sounded like they were eventually gonna pull us in anyways, and so I just thought I just needed something quick. But yeah, I did think about the process of, I mean, the setbacks were smaller, but we didn't mind the 10-foot setbacks instead of 7-foot setbacks, just so that there was more room on the sides. So that's kind of why we went this route instead.
Any other questions?
I remember reading something about when this was planted. It's
1956. I spent 8 hours in the office with John, going back in all the record books until I can give you the full genealogy of that land. It was really interesting, and I found out a lot of people are related and related through land. It was kind of cool because I had my family search and the book open. A lot of people in this town related.
Unsurprisingly,
Yeah.
And I have one question of staff. There's no problem with the fact that it's 0.19 acres. I mean, that's not going to stop this project just because of the 0.2 acre kind of thing.
Yes. Yeah, it
Be
makes
okay.
significantly more sense for it to be.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's smaller, but
Okay, good. Any other questions? Anyone in the audience want to make a comment? Public hearing? Okay, I'm going to close this public hearing and I'm looking for a motion and then we'll do discussion.
Hold on, Jerry, I'm scrolling.
I think the motion is on page 16.
I'll move to make a favorable recommendation to the county to adopt to adopt. Wait, is this the right one? No, sorry, wrong one.
I can do it. I move to forward a favorable recommendation to the county commission for the ordinance to rezone the property located at 570 River Sands Road on Grand County parcel number 03-0035-0045 to the small lot residential zoning district. Based on items of consideration that we talked today, including the age of the property, the size, and I guess the lack of consistency in zoning back in 1956.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Tony or Aaron, one of the two. I'll let somebody else make that call. Any further discussion?
I do. Because it is in the city annexation area, I would recommend that it be annexed into the city to make things cleaner. It's also not a part of the area within the general plan that says this is an area that they want smaller housing units even. And I can give you a history of why that happened. Before LUTMA, you could go in and subdivide your land into 3 lots without going through the process. Then LUTMA came along and said, no, we're going to stop that because we're ending up with lots that are too small for the process. You're going to have city water and sewer, you have city services. The city's going to want you as a house because they're going to start taking taxes. Back in the old days, they didn't care because the city wasn't taxed by the house, it's just commercial. The city's changing that, and they'll be doing city taxes, so they're going to want you anyway. So
I have one question that's mainly, for staff and more from my edification, because I'm a newbie to this side of the planning and zoning world. But would the zone change that we're contemplating today preclude the city of Moab from annexing this lot at a later date?
No way.
No?
And I do have a question about what I read, which is this probably should have been rezoned at the time it all got subdivided. And if it had, it would have been small lot residential.
I had a question for clarification too. Mary brought up sewer and water, but I think this had a mobile home on it at one point.
No, it had a shack that should have been condemned that someone was living in that we couldn't put anyone in.
Did it
And
have,
does
it have sewer and water? Or
It
did
does.
have-
It has sewer and water. It has water and sewer to it. The sewer line goes to it, goes in a Yankee kind of a wonky way, but we have talked to O'Brien, Obie at the sewer place, whatever. There's a pipe that goes right behind the property. We already have approval to tap into that, and they've told us how and everything. So the sewer line that goes right behind it across the Downer property is new within the last 15 years or so.
that's one of the reasons why this lot's down there.
They were in sewer.
Where's the sewer water?
I would say, I understand Mary's hesitation, and it's probably because she probably actually thinks you could do more.
Well, I mean, I get that.
But I understand your head, you guys are needing to build stuff now, and it's your place, and honestly, a double wide down there matches the neighbor's properties. I'm like, yeah, that's a no-brainer for me. But the only thing I would say is you're planning for the future, make sure you know, plan for the future when you build that place out, because, you know, you could shift things and have, I'm a higher density. So like, I'm like,
Property.
Yeah.
It'd be closer to the front. There's a lot of property.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
that would be my
there is, and
recommendation.
the reason that we're doing a modular
Yeah.
is to allow flexibility
Right.
to do it. We're just looking, and yeah,
Right.
eventually rezoning would be great, and that's what we plan to do so that we can do a little bit more. But right now, I have a son-in-law who has a job at the hospital
yeah,
and a daughter who works for me who
Right.
has a small growing family, and
Right.
they need housing. So we're just trying to
Yeah.
get that housing as fast as
and,
possible.
you know, keep in mind what you can build on like a lot like that. You're allowed an ADU, and like, you know, you can, there's build out potential in that.
Yeah,
that you
for
can
sure.
subdivide.
And I would also get a letter from the city before you go to county commission. And to say that they don't want it. I mean, I'm just reluctant because I recognize that it is in the annexation area. You're going to need all that. You're gonna need the city. I mean, the city's providing you all your services.
Yeah. River Sands Road has been kind of a redheaded stepchild for
For a very long time.
everyone for a very long time, noted by
Very.
potholes on the road and no water
Yes,
line.
I think it's a big-
You know, Mary, that's an excellent suggestion. If the city is saying it's not a priority today,
and just
that would help you get through county
Right.
commission.
Okay.
let it be the city.
Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of this rezone? I don't have that in front of me. Well, I'll just do it this way. The rezone of 570 Riverside Road from rural residential to small lot residential, including, of course, the lot number. All in favor?
Aye.
Tony? And opposed? So Mary's opposed, all others in favor. Okay. I'm gonna close the public hearing. I'm going to open a new public hearing on the land use code update 2024. And let's do that.
So we just got these, same as you guys. So after having looked through this very briefly, has anybody else had a chance to look through any of the packet that Lisa sent?
One with the green writing.
Yeah,
All that.
the green
Yes,
writing.
I read that.
I went through it, but I would love to have had more time. I spent Sunday on it, but I would have loved to have had more time.
Be good with me also. That I did mark things that I had questions about, but
I have not had a chance to even open it. I would love to.
Extend the public hearing by 10 days to give them ample time to actually review it.
so do we have a motion to keep it open? And this is 10 more days for public comment.
Or you can leave it open to the next meeting, as McKenna just pointed out.
I think the next meeting. And I would like to make a motion that we extend until the next meeting or through the next meeting.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded that we leave this open hearing open until through the next meeting. All in favor? And Tony? Might have lost him.
Aye.
Okay, all five. That was quicker than I figured.
We only
I have
delayed it.
one anecdotal question about the process for when we leave a hearing open on the table like that. Does this allow community members to submit written comments and testimony to staff in the meantime? Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, it does. Okay. Any citizens to be heard still left anywhere? Hearing none.
He's egging me on.
Future considerations.
Land use code updates. Yeah, the land use code updates. Those are the future considerations.
Okay, we have some work to do.
I didn't know what you were expecting to. I just wanted to kind of see it. Is it shy? I just gave it a call and say,
Yeah.
I don't need to and say. No, except
You have a citizens to be.
Yeah, go ahead. You can come up certainly and be heard.
Please do.
Just the mic.
Yeah, just so we can hear you.
And you state your
And
name.
that way you get recorded.
Okay, wow. On the spot. And then state your name. My name is Kit Halliday. My legal name is Christopher, but I go by Kit, K-I-T. I bought Mark Horowitz's place. If anybody knows that, that usually gets a reaction. Look at that.
Now, is it Mona's or his mom's or his
well, I bought it from Mark. I think he did buy it from Kit.
over on Boulder?
Boulder, yeah.
Okay.
So, which I'm going to do a bed and breakfast out of it. It's got I think, I heard all the people here about my heart belongs to Moab and my heart belongs to Moab. I was raised in Monticello, but even then, Moab was my home. When I had guests, we kept arches. This was it. And I don't like Monticello, and I never really have. So this has always been where I'm going to end up, and here I am. So this bed and breakfast is going to be called Wet Rock. I'm not prepared, but Wet Rock is a term scientists use to, like a slang term, to discuss exoplanets in a Goldilocks zone of a class something like a yellow giant star, a habitable planet, and where they're looking for that for all sorts of reasons. How do we save our blah blah blah? And so when they say we're looking for a wet rock, they don't necessarily mean Earth, although I do. And so I got that sustainability thing that Moab is. I've got it in my bones, and I hope both others do. I bought the place because it has water, and this place I've been running. I want to be a river guy again. So I worked at Navtech. I love running the rivers. And I want to do a beautiful place for weddings, receptions, study of how to preserve it. I want to make that statement through water. I'm going to have the ideas that I'm going to need your stuff for, but not now. I want to know what you guys are looking for and what you need. Thank you very much. Oh yes, why don't we? Yes. So what was the vote?
Was 1, 2, 3, 4 for Laura Long. She had the majority.
Okay, and so I actually need a motion to approve that for us sending it to the county council according to our rules that I just read today. I was surprised.
I will move to send a favorable recommendation for the county commission to appoint Laura Long as a new member of the planning commission until Bryce says that she's free to go.
Thanks, Tony.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Tony?
Aye.
Okay, all in favor. Thank you very much. Good reminder. You caught me. Then I guess we're ready to make a motion to adjourn. Mary makes a motion to adjourn. Second by Jerry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.